Wow. Look at that. Hey, I'm back again. Dave Costa, Renegade Aviator, back with another edition of Air Racing Past, Present, and Future. And I am pleased to have a buddy of mine coming on here today. We're going to talk about T6 racing, and we're going to talk about some of the cool stuff that goes on behind the scenes, maybe things that people don't get a chance to hear about. Some good stories always with my guest. I'll introduce him in just a second. But before I do that, make sure you go get your tickets. Go and get your tickets for the Reno Air Show, because we have got the best air show in the state of Nevada, and in my opinion, on the West Coast, because I'm flying in it. I mean, oh yeah, and there's some people that you might know, like the Blue Angels. They might be there. As a matter of fact, they will be there. We might have people like the Canadian Snowbirds. They might be there. They will be there. A whole bunch of civilian acts, including me. You're going to have Vicky Bensing there with her pretty purple P-51 Mustang. I think it's purple, right, Clyde? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, look at that. Clyde Kawasaki. Clyde and I flew together for a while in a Learjet and terrorized the skies, and been a friend of Clyde for a long time. And Clyde was gracious enough to invite me out to some T6 events when I was, walking around and doing nothing with the Reno Air Races. So Clyde is the owner of Samurai Racing, which is race 50 in the T6 class. So welcome, bud.
Glad to be here, Dave. But I'd like to say one thing is that I am the co-owner, because we started an LLC so a couple of years ago. So Gary Walker is my crew chief, and he's also my partner. Him and his wife and Annie.
Right on.
So that's Samurai Racing now.
Yeah,
LLC.
And you say it better than I do. I go like a white guy, Samurai Racing.
Yeah, there's no excuse for me to mess that one up.
Well, yeah, very cool. So yeah, there you go. There's the airplane, and talking T6s, great airplanes. We all smile. Well, here goes a lot of the noise whenever we get into race day, right? When the T6s taxi out for departure, we're ready for that high pitched prop going supersonic. You can't miss when the T6s took off and flew at Reno, and now maybe flying at a brand new location soon to be announced. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I checked for you. I reached out to RARA. I said, hey, I'm going live here in just a second. Any updates on the no, and there's no update yet. So
we'd like to know.
Yeah, so would I.
We'd like to know. Yeah.
So I mean, Clyde, how did you get even started that? What got you into air racing?
Well, when I was growing up, of course, everybody enjoyed who's aviation nut, always loved the air races, and eventually through the years, I wound up flying for an airline, and we started service in Reno. So for my last 8 years of flying for that company, we flew into Reno, and one day the station manager said, hey, who wants to go to the Reno Air Races? I got tickets. And I said, hell yeah, sign me up. And that started it. And of course, as soon as we pulled into the parking lot, the first thing we saw was that noisy ass freaking airplane going by. The T6 group was going by. And I got, that's what I want to do.
Very cool.
Over the years, a couple of years of coming to the races, and then finally having the opportunity to pick this airplane up, and that started the whole procession. And it's been an adventure, a very expensive adventure.
Well, that's, as an owner, you get to see a different perspective, right? There's some people that, last week we talked to Skip, and Skip's highly accomplished, But Skip had a ride, right? We all
Yeah,
want the
yeah.
ride. As a matter of fact, Clyde, I mean, if you ever need a pilot, please. So I'm always looking for that ride myself. And as an owner of airplanes, you can attest.
So am I. So am I.
So I mean,
Yeah.
when you picked this airplane was a race contender. You were pretty highly ranked. This airplane was darn close to winning, right?
Yes, we've actually taken the bronze, the silver, and we're actually in the middle of the pack of the gold now. Um, and that's one of the things that we're doing during the off time now here, top secret stuff, of course. We're massaging the airplane to perfection, or at least attempt to. And so we're down for a while. Um, Making some changes, legal changes.
Well, you also said something I think I need to reiterate because you're still in the process. So for the fans listening to this,
Mm-hmm.
the race teams haven't stopped working. So when you saying,
No.
look, you're out there still, you're putting in the investment of time, energy, money on an airplane, looking forward to the next chapter. So,
Correct.
as we move into this next chapter, we don't know what's going to be there, but from
No,
a
we don't.
fan, yeah, I mean, and from
Yeah.
a fan perspective, ladies and gentlemen, here's a man right here, working hard, spending money so that those races can continue. So thank you for that.
No problem. Our pleasure. We love doing that's doing the races, but even for me, I'm getting up in age, and um, there's gonna time. There's gonna come a time when I'm gonna step away from it and let the youngins take over and continue the process. But we'll always be involved with it in some way, shape, or form. I'm still listed on the insurance to fly this thing, but I've never qualified to go fly the races. Like, that was the intent when I first moved here to Minden, was to actually qualify to fly this airplane in the air races. But hell, I could still fly it. I could still fly a jet,
That you
but
can.
this thing is.
Well, jets are easy.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
T6 you actually have to work at.
yeah. Well, I thought flying a Learjet was going to be easy, but I tell you what, I've flown a 777. I've got type rating in a 777, but a 777 and a Learjet, those are different animals. This is a different animal too. But I can tell you one thing: it sure is a hell of a lot of fun.
I'm
But
actually going to go fly a T6 next week with Mr. Tom Richard.
ah,
Another
yeah,
racer.
how is Tom? We haven't seen him in who knows how long.
He's doing great. He's doing great. Everybody's doing great. Everybody's all waiting for this next chapter. And
Yeah.
I mean, tell us a little bit about. I kind of previewed. I got to find the picture because I kind of previewed one of the pictures on social media, kind of making a tease a little bit there. There's some Soviet there. We'll talk about him in a second.
Yeah, that's what he calls himself.
I know. Well, yeah. What is this picture about? That was the other side of the Facebook. What is Clyde doing? I love it.
That's our dragon lady. I always got to give her a pat for good luck.
That's very good. We always want to make sure we give good luck to everybody. And
Yep.
there you are. It's a pretty airplane. So how did you acquire it? I mean, where did you get this? Was this a local bird that you converted over?
We found this thing. I found this thing over here at Carson Airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I bought the thing and, got it ready, got it fixed up. And I didn't have a team. I'm just me. And so we got the insurance. I said, okay, how do we start getting to fly this thing to get me ready for the races? So I could fly it. And they go, well, do you have a fast card? The formation card? Nope. Do you have the race school? I can set that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a, pardon the French, shitload of money. Well, no, not yes and no, but he goes, you're not going to be ready for this year. You need to set up a team. We need to get this thing squared away. And so that's where Gary came in, and he said he had a pilot that could help me fly this thing and get me checked out and everything else. So that started the whole progression.
Was that the Soviet?
No,
Oh
it's
no!
John. No, it's
That
John.
guy? Who's that
Yeah.
guy?
Vitali. It says right on there on the side of the airplane.
Oh, I can read that.
Vitali Perosi.
Oh man,
He's Ukrainian. Hell
he's
of
a
a
good
good.
guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and he flies a perfect line every time around the pylons. It's the same altitude, the same attitude, everything the same, and that's what wins races. And he's done that. He's done that.
You know, in the T6 class, most people know, but maybe some of the newer fans don't know, is the Europe. You've got a very tight tolerance for how these aircraft can be set up, right? I mean, they're racers, true and true, but you can only do so much. I mean, what are some of the parameters you need to work within to keep it stock, but still be able to change something?
Well, everything on the airframe is stock. There's some modifications you can do to them. Like you can bondo the leading edges to some degree. You can get the cowlings to fit closer. That side panel that you see there with the 50 on it, that comes on and off. And believe it or not, you can actually redo those panels so that you don't have that protrusions there. That's flush, totally flush. And the canopy has to stay that way. But, it has to stay that way. There have been people that have wanting to cut the canopy down so that it's a bubble canopy. And they said, no, you can't do that. Things like that. And
so you can tighten up on the cowling there. I'm looking at that picture in the front. You can kind of close it in, but there's probably a limit, obviously, with your cylinder head temps and all that. Yeah,
there's a limit. And the opening has to stay stock. Stock opening, the dimension for that. Props have to stay dimensionally correct. The minimum size and a maximum size. It's got to have a, if you will, a North American part number. Pratt Whitney engine.
Okay.
It's got to be a 980, 1340 dash. I can't remember. But
that's for like smart. That's for like crew chiefs to remember, not for us pilots.
It's like so we have a race prop and we have a play prop, and here's a little tidbit for you. They don't make a torque wrench big enough to torque the prop nut down, so we have to calibrate our own torque wrench by using one of those 8-foot long solid steel rock busters that you can buy at Ace Hardware.
Yeah.
And we cut the ends off, and we take Gary's weight, and with the special prop nut that has holes drilled in it, we can run that shaft through, which is a calibrated length. And Gary, after we tighten it as hard as we can, gets up there and grabs the bar and steps off the tailgate of the truck. And when he's hanging about 2 inches off the ground, and Gary's a tall guy, you met Gary.
Yeah, he isn't small. I mean,
So when we get the certain bend going with the bar, as soon as Gary gets that bar to bend a certain amount and his feet finally touches the ground, it's torqued.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we look back at the days, right, when we were hanging out at Reno, and was it Warlock used to have kind of a potluck spaghetti kind of a thing? You remember? And your pit was one that I could stop by and have a beer. I mean, what are some of the fun times that you really look back on and remember? Your group is kind of a tight knit group as it is.
Yeah. We not only have the pit parties, usually on Friday nights before the races really start getting going. We usually have my buddy Charlie Fateau, and he used to have a group called the Tripping King Snakes. And he goes, "Don't ask me. I was the one that thought of it." And so, I met Charlie, and he says, "Hey, you want to be a sponsor and come out and play music for us?" Because he plays really, really good music. Him and his group, his brother and drummer, and we'd have a party in the pit like how Al used to have his music group and play music and dance and everything else, and have a big party. And then later on, we go back into the pits and have a barbecue and things like that. And other teams have pizza night or a salsa contest. And so, some guys, they try to compete with our group, our band. Is it? No, they can't meet. Yeah. So,
well, but that was part of this whole racing, right? Every class is a little bit different, but it's all the same. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just turning circles around pylons.
Yeah.
It was a lot more about that kind of camaraderie and for the fans that, since I can let out some secrets, but I mean, if you're a real fan and you're able to get, or at least you were at Reno, so now I can say it, there was a whole lot you could do after hours and before the races started, hanging out with the race teams, right? I mean,
yeah.
Now that it's not going to be in Reno anymore, that's a great race plane right there. But that's why I used to encourage people, go out and hang out in the pits and do all that stuff. So
that's another good race plane.
Yeah, that'd be the 7-3 class. Oh man, you look good in that picture. I look kind of weird, but I look weird all the time, so it doesn't matter.
You needed a haircut.
Yeah, there we go. No, there you go. There's the renegade thing. So you were kind enough to bring me out to one of the T6 parties prior to the races, which I appreciate.
I still have that.
Yes, you really? I like it. That's good. I'm just scrolling through stuff there. Oh man, now you're what's that? That's that Magnum PI helicopter.
Yeah, and that belongs to my buddy. There's a Swift.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. So see, I went through them all. It's the first I've seen all these. So I'm doing it. I'm doing it live. I saw some of these. Very cool. Yep. So, I mean, of the races, what year hit you as kind of your team's, that pinnacle year where you were kind of either making a great stride or had a great story to tell? Is there any one season that kind of stands out in your mind?
No, they all kind of meld into one because every year there's something different that's happened, be it tragic or really happy. And I kind of have a tendency to push things back. I just remember some of the highlights, and one of them is, of course, the first time we won in the bronze class, because we hadn't done anything to the airplane other than wax, wax on, wax off. But and we won by a prop dome. We won by a prop dome. And that was an exciting race because it was like T6s, whichever, if you're in the bronze, silver, or gold, it can be really, really dicey going back and forth. And the rules say you got to have 2 lengths ahead of the other airplane in order to call it a pass, a clean pass.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, you got the lead, the guy passes them and it's close, but that was the first one. The second one, of course, was when we took the silver and bumped up anyway to the gold, but we couldn't get around the the Honda airplane.
Well, those are air show guys too. So
Yeah.
there's my reaction to that.
Yeah, I was watching one of Hoot Gibson's programs that they had, and he talks about he's flown everything from the cassette to the space shuttle, and he says one class of airplane he will not fly. Okay, all right, Matt.
I figured I'd throw that one up so I saw it pop it. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, we'll come back to Matt and the beer fairy story.
All right.
Hoot said that there's one class of airplanes and he will not fly. He's flown everything except the T6 class. He says those airplanes are too tight, and it's just so close. Usually you get any other class, they kind of spread out a little bit, but the T6, you're almost trading paint. And yeah, he says that's too dangerous for him.
Well, I always got to pontificate, so I apologize in advance. But everybody bitches and moans that we got to have more Warbirds Unlimiteds, right? They say Warbird Unlimited, but the T6 class are Warbirds.
Yes,
these are history flying out there. So as I tell everybody, don't be so stuck in the mud that if your class isn't the way you want it, if the race wasn't the way you thought you could do it, right? So everybody's an expert and everybody wants things, but we got to support the whole program, all the classes that brings fans out, that makes sure there's racing. Because although of the Warbirds, the T6 is within at least a lot more people's reach than a P-51 Mustang.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you chop up these airplanes. I mean, to make them go fast, that's expensive.
Right.
Get that's what you call cubic dollars.
Exactly.
Now, Matt, got to go back to Matt. We got to talk about.
Oh yeah. All right. Let me bring up Matt. There's Matt's comment.
Right.
Beer fairies. Now I could take that two different ways, so I'll let you explain.
Well, let's put it this way. One year, not the year after Al was killed, Al Goss, and he was just knocking around and crashed, killed him. But Matt and his bunch of guys, his brother and a few other people like that, they used to hang with Al's pit crew. And they'd always be there, and they'd always be for the pit parties and everything else. And he asked me one day, and he said, "Can we go ahead and come in and help out and all this other kind of stuff? Come, bring some beer and barbecue with you guys, and just place to hang out during the races." Well, sure, and can we help with anything? I says, well, got to help oil up the crew and bring out water, beer, and ice, especially ice, because how that goes out there.
Yeah, the beer gets warm without it.
Yeah. And so they would come in and they'd bring in bags of ice and cases of beer, and they come out and hang out and have lunch with us and all that kind of good stuff. And then it got to the point where Gary would go, "Where'd all this stuff come from?" He says, somebody looked at him and goes, "The beer fairies." And that's when it started. That's how it started. And now Matt, he got to the point like I am or was, where to hell with being a spectator, I want to go race. And he did. He bought himself a little cassette, and he's done pretty damn well with himself now.
We got to get Matt on since, why not? Matt's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Formula One guys. So we kind of helped him out as much as we could. And, now he's, I think he's up into the silver class now that he's got an airplane that performed quite well. And now he's got a reliable engine that he can race with.
Well, and this is what we talk about. We hear this September family, and those that know me, I'm not the warm and fuzzy guy. So you don't want me in your family. Mrs. Renegade Aviator has to put up with me, but just what you said, how camaraderies happen, and people then they become a racer. They may start as a crew member. They may be a longtime fan. We just lost one of the photogs. Sean Aro. But we run across these people, and it was once a year, sometimes twice a year if you did the whole PRS thing, and it was something that I won't forget. I mean, it was, and that's, I guess, where we're going with this. It'll happen again, right? I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on the city choices. It doesn't really matter, but I asked you offline. I'll ask you again. Are you planning to bring a plane out and race again?
Hell yeah.
Say that?
Yeah. We got an airplane, and it's set up for racing. It's got to race, because otherwise it's a useless pile of aluminum. It was going to take a lot to bring it back to stock. But it's the way it's set up now is set up for racing, and it's a handful to handle. Now, I've flown both this airplane stock, and I've flown the 43 airplane in full race configuration, and there's a definite difference between the two. I haven't flown this one, my own airplane, yet in full race. I do know it's a bit squirrely, but
is what causes that? Is it just because of the drag reduction on it? Does it slow down as much, or what's
no?
the...
It's part of it is the landing gear. The tires are a little thinner, and the tail wheel is shorter. It's a smaller donut tire, and the strut is a little shorter. They're all legal modifications. Everybody does it. It's all legal. And so now, instead of having that 3-point attitude, the tail is actually lower. So what happens when you got a tall main landing gear and a short tail wheel? You go around real quick.
Yeah.
Like in a twin beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I used to say when I had my T6, there's those who are ground loop of T6, and there are those who will, and those who have.
Yeah,
so
those who will,
they can be a handful for sure.
Yeah, I got close and managed to get it back, but I tell you what, there's a lot of squealing tires and a lot of cussing going on.
Yeah, and it's when you get into the races, again, more the kind of my soapbox on the races. Yeah, your airplane's doing what? What is your race speed roughly on that airplane?
Average, I think the best we've ever done is like 235 mile an hour. So it's 250 mile an hour down the straightaway.
Right. So, people go, well, that's a slow warbird, right? But they go, well, it's not slow. It's 250 miles an hour.
That's fast.
It's very fast. It's all relative, when people can look. So you can see the pits that are racing around at a little bit less speed, the F1s, and the jets will go fast, unlimited. But there's different race courses you're on. And again, as you mentioned, some of the best racing, purely racing, because everybody's so tight together, is in the T6 class.
T6 class, yeah.
We've
had. I've been not in my airplane, but in other airplanes, going around a race course that they've put out there in the desert, and I tell you what, 50-foot telephone pole, and you go right past 50-foot telephone pole doing 200 plus mile an hour. It goes by very fast.
It does go by fast.
Yeah. And you've done 500.
Yeah. Where did who go?
It was like 50 feet. Holy. What am I doing here?
No, but these airplanes, and I used to tell the kids that were there stuff where if I walk through the crowd, I go, these are the airplanes
that trained a generation of aviators. And I say aviators the right way, AV8R, because we're not making aviators anymore. At least I haven't seen too many of them, but you know, and so that's why, again, you know, you look at the T6 class. That's why I like the T6 class. That is what trained everybody to fly those unlimiteds you see out there. Every one of those pilots flying those unlimiteds have flown a T6 before they got there.
Yep.
And that's why the plane's so hard to fly. It's designed that way. It's designed to weed out wannabe aviators.
Yeah. Yep.
It'll weed you out, putting you in the weeds.
Yep. That's, you know, it's stories like that. You know, I've heard that from my late friend Ted Contry. He had 2 P-51s in the hangar up here in Carson, and he had a T6, and he bought the T6 after he bought the P-51s, and he went gatawampus in the weeds once because he had a hot dog, supposedly hot dog T6 guy, and they went in the weeds up there in Reno. Not Stead, but Reno Tahoe.
Okay.
And he said, that's it. You know, he had it. Ted thought he had it good, and the other guy didn't think so. So he grabbed it. And of course, you know what happened there.
Yeah.
And he told the guy, get out. He says, well, we're in the middle of the airport. Get out.
Yep.
And Ted flew it home. And he says, I never had a problem with it. But, you know, he had tail wheel experience, but he says he's got a lot of respect for this airplane.
It has a delay in it. If you do get it cattywampus, it'll continue to go that way. You know, sometimes one of the struts may not be exactly equal with the other, depending on which wheel you put down first. I used to teach in the T6, and it was humbling. I would tell guys I was training in the T6, I'd tell them, look, if I grab those controls, it's not a reflection on you. It's a reflection of, I only know it can only go so far where I can save the airplane. And so it's, you know, I'm not the world's, you know, nobody is the world's greatest T6 pilot. At least they are for a little while until the plane humbles them again.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the reasons why I bought the Swift. Because, you know, it's a tail dragger, and it's a humbling tail dragger. Even though the gear is wide, it's short coupled. It can eat your lunch, and it's an airplane that, you know, it's short coupled. And this particular airplane has been heavily modified, and it's got a 210 horse Continental on that thing.
Oh, nice.
Instead of the 125.
Nice.
So it's a 150, 160 mile an hour airplane, and it doesn't like to 3-point.
Right.
You have to wheel land it, and I've done wheel landings in the T6, and I've also done 3-point. You don't want 3 points in a T6 because you can't see, number one, and number two is if you get it all gatawampus and you won't know until you touch down, you're going for a ride, big time, big time ride. So I do, if I'm going to do something like a wheel landing with the T6, I do it tail low.
That's what I do.
Yeah, it makes it easier to control.
Yeah, they're two very different airplanes, but you can, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you fans, you can go get a ride in a T6. You can go even fly a T6 and experience what aviators went through. You know, then we become jet pilots, and you know, we just smile and laugh all day in the cockpit of airplanes as the slide shows. And yeah, so outstanding. Well, you know, Clyde, I could go on with you. Maybe we'll even have you back as we get closer to talk about you. You know, we really appreciate you coming out, because I got a lot of respect for your experience, airline pilot, you know, flying cool stuff around, and owning a team is a labor of love, even with beer fairies. And yeah, so
I just want people to know I don't identify as a beer fairy.
just beer.
Just yeah. Very cool. All right, man. Well, Clyde, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. You can hear it on replay if you came in late. Remember that the Reno Air Show is coming up. You'll see us out there 4 to 6 October. And Clyde, I don't know if you know, but you probably did. They are having a night air show on Friday.
Oh,
so pyro, baby. And my buddy, Rick Myers.
Rick Myers. No.
I got to get him on. He says boom after a lot of things, but there's going to be a lot of pyro. Like blowing stuff up. So that's that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool, right? For an air show, blowing stuff up. I love that.
Like Hawaii on the first of January 1st, New Year's.
Very cool.
Yeah, blowing up the island. Yep.
Well, man, hey, I'm gonna see you out at the airport. I'd love to see that Swift when you get it out there.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
Get rid of Jim's Apache out of my hangar.
Oh man, he's probably listening in, so he just got the word. I think that Apache has got a new home. I understand, so it's a non-racing thing, but in any event, I'm looking forward to being out there in October. I know I'll see you out there, Clyde. Stop on by or wherever they have us, probably in the they'll probably put the Renegade Aviator somewhere very, very special, like near the porta potties or right on, man. Well, hey, I miss flying with you. It was always fun when we got to fly together. We will do it again, I'm sure, at some point in history. We're both still young guys. We're under 80, so I know a bunch of 80-year-olds that can outfly both of us. So right on, man. Well, Mr. Kawasaki, I appreciate your time again.
Thank you, sir.
All right. This is David Costa. I am the Renegade Aviator. See ya.
See ya.